Welcome in, everyone, for a really special episode of the David Hookstead Show. We're super hyped about this. We got Bob Keller, Brian Gilligan, and Nate Dudley with us, 3 former Delta Force operators. Couldn't be more pumped about this. Thanks, everyone, for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to jump in right away. We're going to get an action-packed question. For the 3 of you, you can start individually. Where were the fiercest gunfights? Where were the fiercest combat you guys ever saw? Iraq, Afghanistan, take it away. Who wants to start?
Afghanistan, for sure, for me.
Yeah. Well, you go first, Bob. Yeah,
Afghanistan, without a doubt. I think Iraq was cooler hits, but Afghanistan was where the gunfighting was. Al-Qaeda basically became big pussies in Iraq. So, like, we'd come on target, and they knew if they came out with their hands up, we had to arrest them, basically, Afghanistan, like, especially with the Taliban, them motherfuckers were fighters. So every target we went on with Taliban, you knew you were getting a gunfight pretty much. So Afghanistan was the place to be.
Yeah. So for me, I agree to a certain extent, but there's also the early days of Iraq were pretty badass.
I missed. You had like the first 2 years before me, so I missed out on that.
Yeah, so I hit that perfect. I mean, I hit Afghanistan. I think I was on the 3rd ODA put into Afghanistan, so I know what Bob's saying there too. But I definitely had a good time in early Iraq with the
and I'll agree, like, the hits were way better in Iraq.
Yeah.
But would you say the fighters in Afghanistan were better than they were in Iraq?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That's what I thought too. It just
for me, I freaking hate Afghanistan. There was some good gunfights in Afghanistan, but it was always like few and far between, right? But go back to like 2006, Baghdad, Yusufia. We would go out and get in a gunfight every night. So that was, the surge happened in 2005. All of the AQ guys got pushed out of Baghdad, and they all went to Yusufia.
Yeah.
And we counted on a 90-day rotation. We would count the nights we didn't get in a gunfight, and it was usually, less than 20.
But see, I agree. Now, I also agree. So I got into way more gunfights in Iraq, but where I feared for my life maybe a little bit more was maybe Afghanistan, like I was giggling in Iraq, like having a good old time. Afghanistan was
dive into that. So what's the difference in fear there? Why are you more fearful in Afghanistan compared to Iraq? Is it because the Taliban were better fighters or what?
I think it was a little bit of everything. So it was a little bit of that, right? And it was a little bit of distance. So everything, it was a little bit more sketchy in Afghanistan, right? Because distances were greater. You didn't have as much support, right? So there are a multitude of factors. I did a lot of daylight stuff in Iraq, so it made it fun. The nighttime stuff. It obviously it gets a little bit more, it was sketchy. Obviously, everything under nods and everything. But I can see it from both fields of view for sure.
I would say that, like the Afghanistan thing, you were always going to somewhere remote, and it was more like a village of assholes coming after you, or several compounds of assholes coming after you. Whereas in Iraq, you're going
like a house
somewhere rural or something like that. Yeah. Most of the people around are just sitting in their house hoping you don't come in and kick them in the face. So it was. I think that was the bigger thing with Afghanistan was the outside threat when you were on target, which wasn't as big of a concern in Iraq.
Well, to your point about guys hoping you just don't kick them in the face when you come to the door, how difficult is it when you're in a country like Iraq or Afghanistan, wherever it might be, where you're not fighting uniformed soldiers, right? Like they don't look like the Germans in World War II. How many split decisions are you guys making to determine who's friendly and who's a bad guy trying to take you out?
Oof. Well, that is the question, right? So,
all the time.
Yeah, all the time, right? That's the answer. I got shot up in 2007, right? And it was from a guy who was dressed up as a woman. So in full head to toe, woman garb, right? So it was kind of at that time where
Really
they
got shot because he was checking them out.
shut your mouth, Bob. Shut your mouth. There's no such thing going on.
I'm just kidding.
So up until that point, you know, they kind of changed the ROE on us. You know, we did a lot of self internally. You know, we checked all the people on target by ourselves and all that stuff. Well, obviously, you know, there were some issues with that. That came up, us searching women. So then that became a no. And then hence the men started dressing up in women, right? Because that's what they do, is they come up with the next best answer to beat the Americans. And yeah, so it bit me in the ass. And that was kind of the first time we had seen it anywhere over there up until that point. So yeah, I mean, it's always a big thing for sure.
Where were you hit when you got shot?
So I got it through the left forearm, and then I think it was the same bullet. The way I was angled, I think it went through my left forearm, and then it went into my left, like the left side of my gut, the left flank, I guess is the actual medical term. But
well, he got another guy right next to him too.
Yeah, and then my team leader got shot right through his trap. So perfect.
The only reason you got shot was because you were standing next to him.
Yeah, exactly. He's bad luck. He's a bad luck storm.
Now, did you know right away when you got hit that you'd been shot? Because I've seen some interviews where people are like, it took me a few seconds to recognize I'd been hit.
Nah, so here's the deal.
What did you say when you got shot?
Man, I yelled "fuck" pretty loud. I'll tell you that. But I let our element up, and it was that, you know, we had hit a few buildings. You know, that's how it always is, right? We had already hit our primary building. We had already hit a couple follow-ons. So this is like the freaking fourth building we were hitting, you know. But I let up, and I knew I had my laser on this because ISR was saying it was a woman out there, and it looked like a decrepit old woman all hunched over. And I had my laser, and I was checking, and that dude turned his head, and I could see that 5 o'clock shadow, and I knew, shit, I was behind the power curve right there. And he just he had an AK under that dress and just dumped the whole magazine out.
Holy shit.
But I knew I got shot. I knew it.
Okay. And I'm assuming someone put that guy down immediately, right?
Yeah, we all did. Yeah.
That's a lot. So what about you, Nate? What's your experience when it comes to identifying those people who they could be dressed like civilians? Well, like, how difficult is that?
I mean, you know, there's the obvious easy case where they got a gun, right? But you know, that was probably a minority of the situations that were put in, you know, where we can actually see the gun or see what you, you know, some sort of threat. And I think it's just it's a culmination of experiences and kind of sensing that, you know, something's wrong. Like, this person isn't acting correctly. This person isn't doing this or that. You know, I remember, I think it was 2007, saw this guy pop out of a courtyard, you know, a couple houses down while we were in Iraq. And it looked like he had like the boxing, like, diaper, you know, that big padded boxing diaper. Looked like he was wearing that under his man jammies. And I'm like, did you guys see that? And everybody was like, no, I didn't see anything. He popped back out, and I shot him because I was positive he had a bomb on, like, you know, bomb underwear. And ended up he did, right? And so it was the right call. But it's just one of those things that, like, if that had happened to me in 2003, we probably would have gotten IED. You know what I mean? Because it was just that he was acting funny. I could tell there was something under his clothes. When he came back out, started coming towards us, like, I knew something was wrong. You know, so it was really hard in a lot of those situations to make that call, and it's just a matter of seeing things over and over and over again, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's like with gunfighting and being the experience. Like Nate said, if it would have been years before that, probably wouldn't have made that call. Like it's like calling plays or reading plays, on a professional team or something. Like you can start reading things and you have that situation awareness. The more gunfights you get into, you know what people are doing on target different, like Nate was saying, and you can read it. But I mean I think that's our biggest training at the unit is hostage rescue and identifying threats. So that's like the first thing you're doing on target. You're always looking for hands. You're looking for body bombs. You're looking for body armor. I mean, that is like literally the first thing. When you see someone, that's the first thing that split second snapshot. That's what you're seeing. So, if the guy, if he doesn't look like he's doing anything wrong, he might be a threat in front of you, but he doesn't have anything on him or with him. Then you're going to the next guy and you're identifying that and seeing if he has anything. But I mean, it's fun when you get that good at it, and that's just from just fucking days and weeks and months of training for identifying target identification. In training that comes into on target, and that's what you're doing every freaking night. So you get pretty good at reading people and looking at hands and like just seeing a bulge in someone's freaking man jammies,
Whoa, what are you looking at, Bob?
I shouldn't have said bulge.
Well,
Hey, I'm looking down there too. Why not?
When it comes to the rules of engagement, because obviously the rules of engagement ever since the wars kicked off have been debated by politicians seemingly nonstop around the clock. But for you guys in a tier 1 unit, you're the best of the best, you're the tip of the spear. What do they tell you? Like, if you feel like you got to do it, or is it because you said, Nate, you shot a guy assuming.
Yeah. So I will say that the ROE is the same across the board, right?
Yeah.
ROE is the ROE, right? But the difference really, when you get into special operations in general, right, is that your command is going to go to bat for you instead of hanging you out to dry, right? Like in a regular unit, your commander might be like, you shouldn't have done that, and he's gonna be the one that ties the noose. Whereas our unit, our troop commanders, squadron commanders, those dudes are gonna go to bat and fight the good fight for you.
Well, you fucking hope they would.
Yeah, you hope they do. But then I think that goes into law enforcement today. People are scared to pull the trigger because they don't have top cover.
100% agree.
Even though they're doing the right thing, they're scared. They're scared to do the right thing because one bad move or even the right move could get them prosecuted.
Yeah, they may have the top cover, but the problem is they also got the fucking press here.
Yeah.
They don't like them.
And to clarify, that those two situations with me and an 82nd dude, the same exact thing. And what the 82nd dude could have done is legal. It's just gray area, or and the commander just doesn't want to hang himself out for it.
Right. No, I understand. So do you feel like I actually had this question low on the list, but I feel like this is actually a good way to get it in. When you see people either on the press, maybe on TV, or politicians or whoever it might be, and they're judging you for your judgment calls that you made under fire, what do you feel when you hear from people who've never been in combat trying to judge you for what you did in very intense situations?
Oh, can I answer this?
Go ahead.
So hey, perfect example, right? We were out in Maymana, and we were doing vehicle interdictions. All right, so we were like the daylight.
Oh, yeah. This is the story we were talking about.
Yeah. So
perfect example.
Yeah, perfect example, right? So we're following this cat. We know he's a bad guy, with a bunch of dudes. Anyway, I'm not going to make a long story even longer, but we end up launching to go nail this guy. Well, we end up doing a vehicle interdiction on kind of like a main road, and
it was a highway.
Yeah, it was a highway, and they had a vote, and they voted the wrong way, and they paid the price, right? But the bottom line is, you know, things happened. We got shut down. We got bad press. We had I don't know I can't remember if he was a lieutenant colonel or a full bird colonel, PAO officer, conventional side, I believe, that is kind of in charge of Afghanistan, but he hung us out to dry as well. Gave us a bad narrative, like we hit the wrong target, all sorts of stuff. So we got hung out to dry, like literally, figuratively, we got hung out to dry. And, you know, our command was supporting us, but there wasn't much they could do. But bottom line, you know, fast forward another week and a half. Turns out we burned down the correct guys. They were all bad. And we had also fouled up an assassination attempt on the new friggin' Afghan president, right? So, you know, we do our homework.
And all of a sudden we're heroes.
Yes, all of a sudden we're heroes after they motherfucked us, you know, for a week and shut us down, right?
Yeah, they shut us down.
Yeah, they shut us down hard.
Because all four of those guys were actually Afghani police. And one of them was the nephew of the Afghani regional governor. But they were all bad dudes, right? Like
they all had uniforms on.
Yeah.
And so they were planning on trying to take out the Afghani president, and you guys got to him beforehand.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's optics, right? It just came out that we shot up a car full of Afghani police.
That's the whole kind of the press getting a hold of it, and you know, it's getting to the wrong hands. The guys that don't know what we're doing, they don't know the intel behind it.
And that's a military PAO officer who released that shit without confirming everything, right? So it happens everywhere.
Well, I can tell you from firsthand, there's a lot of people in the media who enjoy making the military cops look bad. They get big ratings to do it. They think it's good for business. So if this, not everyone, there's some good people too, obviously, but there are some. All right, let's roll into the next thing. And it's still in the combat sphere. And I know Bob and I briefly talked about this last time we saw each other, but what's the mindset of guys like you, tier 1 operators, when you're on the helicopters and you're flying in, or maybe you're in the Humvees, whatever it might be, when you're coming in to hit a target, is it, we're going to beat the living shit out of them, like we're the apex predator, or is it nervousness? Like, what's going through your mind?
It's, I want to get to the breach first.
What was that? Repeat that. I missed that. What was that?
It's, I want to get to the breach point first. That's secretly what everybody is thinking.
That, and we hope they have guns.
Yes.
Because the bottom line is we all want to get in a gunfight when we get there. There isn't a gunfight. It was a boring night.
That's crazy. And do
you? But I mean, just saying. I mean, going back to what you said, though, yeah, there's a little bit of there's a little bit of the nervousness, or whatever. I mean, I'm sure we all got that. And that tends to go away a little bit. But you need to try to keep that, to give you that edge, because you kind of get a little too comfortable doing this shit day in and day out. But yeah.
I think when we talked, Dave, that's what I was saying. Like it's exhilarating to go on target with everyone feeling the same way, right? Like it is a fucking race to the breach. Like to be around that many dudes that want to get in a gunfight and that aren't fucking scared. Like you might have some nerves, but fuck, I got nervous when I played hockey. That didn't mean I was scared.
Right.
So, but that is the group of people that you're dealing with. It's fucking awesome.
No, it sounds unbelievable. Just like I told you the last time we talked. I mean, that mindset, it's crazy, because that to me seems like it must be such a tiny percentage of people that have that tick in their brain to go, because I mean, if bullets were flying over my head, I don't think I'd be like, wow, this is fucking awesome. I'd probably be like, I want to get under cover immediately. But who knows? I mean, I don't think so. I don't think I'd enjoy it. But you guys clearly, I mean, just kind of cut from a different breed. So what's the funniest thing you've ever seen in a gunfight?
So,
this is new.
I don't know if this is the funniest thing, but I was just thinking about it when Bob was talking about racing to the breach. So we were in Afghanistan. I think it was like 2011. We flew out to some, I don't know, shithole house in the middle of nowhere. And I think we took some RPGs while we were flying on the way there.
And you gotta talk about me falling in the goddamn hole again? Jesus Christ. It wasn't that funny. It happens every night.
It was hilarious because you fell in it, what, 2 or 3 times?
It was only twice. It was only twice.
So we land outside the building. We get off. I'm right behind Bob. He's the 2IC. And Bob just disappears, right?
She was
he
a
fell in this hole.
big fucking hole.
Oh, yeah. It was probably like 5 by 5 by 5, right? And I stop. I see him. He gets out. We go up. We start putting the breach up. I think I was hanging the breach. I don't remember. Then a gunfight starts over here. And Bob goes to back up. And he falls back in the hole. and like, if you've ever spent time under NVGs, you see people fall all the time. And it's just the funniest shit you've ever seen in your life. Like there's nothing funnier.
And why are people falling at night? Is it just because they don't see what's coming up in front of them?
Yeah, your depth
You can't see
perception.
the ground.
Yeah,
The depth perception, yeah.
Yeah.
under your nods, you know, just
You've
That
got
was
a
a
good
good one.
field of view like this, right? But you don't see what's right at your feet.
Gotcha.
Unless
All
you're
right,
looking
Bob,
up.
you want to
But-
give us? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
All right. So funny story. We were talking about this the other day, right? So this was, I think it was the same trip to Afghanistan. So we flew in, and it was me and Bob were on one little bird, and Gilligan and another guy on the team were on the other little bird. And our job was to just sit up over the target while everybody else infilled in case, you know, there was gunfight or something like that. We could start shooting people. So it ended up happened, you know, just smoked a few people. Bob smoked a few people from our little bird because he told them to turn the bird away from me. I was on the right side. And he was telling him to turn the bird right, so he had a good shot. I got screwed.
as a good senior should do.
Yeah. Hey, I knew I was a better shot. I knew I was a better shot.
But anyways, so while this is going on, they're clearing the building or whatever, and then by the time we get on the ground, the building's clear. So they're like, hey, there's a bunch of people that we shot out in the field. Some we shot, some they shot. Why don't you go check them and look for the dude we're looking for, the HVI.
Yeah, good time.
So we land, we're walking through this field, and at some point, like this, there were like kind of these rolling mounds in this field. And at some point, I'm walking and I come up to the top of this mound, and there's a dude with a pistol like 2 feet from my feet.
From nowhere, dude.
Scared the shit out of me. I jumped back and right. So we took care of him. And then I don't know how many people it was, but we had to go to all of these bodies and check them, right?
We
So
smoked some dudes on that one.
yeah, when you go to a dead body because you don't know if he's got something on him or an IED or whatever, like we've got some cordage, we'll put a loop on his hand or something like that, get back and pull him over, and then wait a minute to make sure nothing cooks off, right? So me and Bob are doing that, and I want to say we did like 8 or 10 bodies like that, and we've probably walked like a mile at this point through these fields looking for all these dudes, and we're just exhausted. So we get to the last dude, and we're like, we find him, like, me and Bob, and just fucking flip him over. So Bob grabs him by the shoulder and rolls him over, and no shit, there's a grenade. Under the last dude, the first dude we didn't use a pole line on, like, grenade! And me and Bob both jumped out of the way. Luckily, I don't think the guy he had his hands on it. I don't think he got the pin out before.
No, it fucking
Before he
detonated.
Did it? Oh,
Yeah, it went off. We hit the fucking deck.
Oh man.
See,
Is
that
that
just
the close?
shows you.
That's like a good example of getting complacent. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
when you do it so many times, you're like, ah, fuck, nothing bad's gonna happen, you know. And then sure enough, like fucking last dude had enough time to freaking grab a grenade and pull the pin while he was dying. He was dead.
Was that the closest call you ever had?
No, hell no.
No.
That shit was
Hell no. That was probably the funniest, but not
It was
the
funny. Yeah, because you know, we get after it goes off, we get up and Nate's like, "What the fuck, man?" You know, and we're all laughing about it.
Are there any close calls that really stick out in your mind? where you're like, that was the closest I ever came to things going real south?
Well, so when they were talking about that target, that infill was very sketchy. So we had a lot of RPG.
You and Dave were getting it on.
Yeah. So we had a lot of RPGs zinging through the aircraft that night. So that was pretty sketchy, right? That's one way I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Right? 'Cause you don't have any say in that, you know.
I agree with you, because the one that the fucking Nate always brings up, me falling in a goddamn hole. We took RPGs that night, and we took small arms fire on infill, and it was sketchy because
that was the first time I ever heard hot LZ. That's the first time.
And that was right after that Chinook went down with that whole
the SEALs
SEAL team on it.
Yeah. But I agree, like on not knowing or what's the sketchiest time. I would say like on infills like that, because your legs are hanging out the outside, right? I mean, when an RPG comes out, you can't fucking shoot the goddamn RPG, right? When you got bad guys,
maybe you can.
You're in control of your own life. But when RPGs are coming out, and I mean that time there was RPGs coming in between the fucking the 60s. Yeah, there's nothing, as you see them coming up, there's nothing you can do.
Nothing.
If one hits you, it just sucks. It sucks. On target, you have control of your life.
Yeah,
like you're a shooter, and you're like
you're on that helo. You're just like,
I don't even mind small arms fire coming at me on the helo, because then by that point you can see the dudes and you can kind of defend yourself. But RPGs coming up at you, there's nothing you can do. You just watch them. You just watch them go by, and you hope that the next one doesn't hit you.
And they're scary as fuck. They're scary.
But are all your pilots, the guys flying you in, are they all from the 160th SOAR?
Yeah.
Well,
and
not
all of them.
In Mayamana, we had because it was just lack of aircraft, lack of personnel.
Right.
We actually used conventional for some hits, and that was fucking sketchy.
And those guys are awesome, right? We have like the amount of trust we have in them is really hard to explain. But it's a matter of not being the decision maker, right? Like, so if I'm on the ground and gunfire comes, I can decide whether to shoot, whether to duck, whether to do this. You're just along for the ride on a helicopter. You have no control over it.
Damn. Yeah, no, that sounds scary as all hell. Absolutely. Well, now, Bob, you told me the story the time when we last talked, where you got to engage multiple guys at once, right? Were either of you two there when that story went down? Because our audience loved the hell out of that story. They thought that was the most badass thing they'd ever heard.
Yeah, that's because Bob was fucking lying.
I don't know. Well, Gil, were you on? Yeah, Gilly might have been on that one. I don't know if Nate was, if you were still around at that point.
When was it?
Because that was when, well, shit, I don't know. I would have had to been 2IC, right?
Well, not necessarily, I guess.
If you were on there.
If I was there, yeah.
But
we've had some good ones regardless, bro.
Yeah. No, it sounds like you guys have definitely got after it in a big way. All right. So this
you want to tell the story about the time that two guys in the dog got shot, Bob? Gilly?
Oh, which one?
I want to hear it.
Which one was it?
The one where Zach and Simon got shot.
Oh, that's a good one. But I was going to tell the Ronbo shitting story too. But yeah, you guys can tell that one.
That's what I was going to tell for the funniest thing on target.
Okay,
yeah. So
we want to hear them all. We share them all.
Yeah. So we'll start with probably one of the funniest things. Probably any of us have been around.
Yeah, and I would agree. This would have been my funny one too. So Gilly, you were with them when it was happening. So you tell it.
It just
fill up my drink.
Yeah, so we were Bob's leaving to fill up his drink. I love it. So we were in Iraq at this point, and the squadron was kind of separated, and we all came together for a big AAM hit, right? So it was one of the
What's that mean?
So
Abu Osama al-Masri. He was
yes.
the predecessor. He was after AMZ.
Yeah, he took over for Zarqawi right after Zarqawi got killed. All right, so he was like the big wig in Iraq after Zarqawi. Okay, so we all came together. We got intelligence. You know, we got this. You know, whatever. We're supposed to have this location for them. We all come together. You know, it's like a big reunion. We're having a great old time, right? And we head out to go. We punch out in the middle of the night to go do this hit. So we're like in the palm groves, you know, and we all separate because we're like moving to target. Okay, we're moving to target, which means we're all moving to our breach points. We are going to conduct a breach. We are going to enter and we are going to assault this building and we're going to kill or capture this motherfucker, right? So
big, like at the time, big dude.
Yeah, I told him it was AAF.
Yeah, but I mean, just the normal person listen doesn't know. Like, this is a fucking big hit.
Yeah, big time. So I was the 2IC, which means I was the second in charge, and we had a team leader, and I was leading us up to our breach point. And
I was probably breacher then.
You were the breacher, yeah. So we're in the middle of the palm groves and the freaking wood. I mean, it's basically the woods, right? And my team leader comes up to me. He whispers in my ear. He says, "Gilly, I need to shit." And I looked at him and I said, "You need to what?" He said, "I need to shit." And I said, "Bro, we are moving to breach. Like, we're moving to breach. We can't, there's no
target."
Yeah. So he's like, "Bro, it's already halfway out. It'll be quick." I'm like, "It's halfway out?" I'm like, "Fuck me." I'm like, "Go, bro." I'm like, "Go. Hurry up. Go shit." So I stopped the fucking patrol. He fucking runs off. And then I got like, I don't know if it was Bob or somebody else come up like, "What are we doing?" You know? And I'm like, "So-and-so shitting." All right. Give him a minute. Right. So we're sitting there and I hear on the radio echo at breach. And when you're not at your breach point and other teams are saying they're at breach,
yeah,
it should start pissing you off, right?
It's a big deal. Everyone's supposed to be on breach at the same time, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, run. I'm in this palm grove under nods, trying to quietly yell, "Run, hurry up, wipe your ass, let's go." You know, whatever it is, let's go. Finally, this freaking dude comes running over. His freaking, I think he tried to wipe his ass with his shirt sleeve. It was like hanging out of his pants. Like, I don't even know. The second team said at breach, you know, there's a countdown going on, and I'm trying to run our team up to the door to get there just in time to try to freaking get into the action, you know? But yeah, so, I mean, there you go. The Delta Force mad shitter story right there.
I mean,
that's hysterical.
We're laughing so hard because you just don't understand how important it is to all be at breach. And you don't ever want to be the team that is the last to call at breach. That means, you know, because the breachers, he has to get up. You want to get up there fast. The breacher needs to get the charge up fast. You always want to be the first one to say at breach. It's just it's kind of a competition thing. But then you add in, like, this is the fucking #1 guy in country. Like, this is a fucking huge hit. And the dude's shitting. Like, I mean, it was.
He had some bad.
You know, you can't fathom how important getting to breach is, and he couldn't hold his shit. I mean,
and mind you, once the breaches go, the building's going to be clear in less than 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And then he can take a shit. But
So what happens? Is the guy that you're looking for in the building? Do you get him even though this guy had to relieve himself?
No. So that target ended up being a big old dry hole, which, you know, it was more the case than not half the time, right? I mean, we ended up getting them later on down the line.
Get him, yeah.
Yeah, but that was a dry hole. but we did have a lot of laughs. Let me just tell you that.
Damn, that is not the story I was expecting to hear. The funniest thing ever.
I know, not really that cool, was it?
you
No, it's
asked
hilarious,
for fun.
though.
You asked for funny.
See,
Any
everybody
other-
thinks it needs to be all commando, man. I'm telling you, some of the funniest stories are the simplest shit you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Was there any other classic ones you got on your mind?
Like even I don't know if you guys were, but like talking just well, I think we were laughing at you, Gilly, when you were pinned down in front of the doorway. And
Yeah, I mean, because that's fucking comical, Bob.
But
Yeah,
like-
that's fucking super comical. I know. I loved it too. Me being pinned down by an automatic fucking weapon in front of a door. Yeah, it was awesome.
But you know, these guys, I don't know if they were laughing up you know, initially, because I mean it was they, fucking dude was rocking it from like basically the hallway of the house.
Yeah.
They were gonna make entry in the front door. I don't know why we weren't up there at that point, but you know, when everything kind of settles down, you're laughing at these three. Was it 3 guys or 4 guys up there?
I think it was 3 of us. Yeah.
But I mean, they're pinned down like behind this little teeny mound, so they're all
Yeah, it
hunkered
was
down.
fast.
They're trying to get as small as they can. And we're back there, you know, laughing on the radio, saying, "Yeah, just you know, just hang tight. We'll figure this
Get
out here."
small, fellas. Get small.
But that like that stuff happens all the time. Were you guys on the cave hit when we had the 2 guys in the cave and
Yep.
we took contact and I went right, not gonna say his name, but the other guy went left and he got pinned down behind that fucking rock.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's right in front of this cave, pinned down behind this fucking rock that's about as size of him. You know, and yeah, he was stuck there for probably an
That was
hour.
on that big mountain, right?
Yeah.
We burnt.
Like,
Yeah.
the whole time that he would move and like he would try to get behind the rock and like get to us, and they would open up on him. And every time they opened up on him, we'd be like, "Yeah, just hang tight." And he's like getting as small as he can to stay behind this fucking rock.
Wasn't that when we fragged the cave?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then he came running out and went fucking tumbling down that mountain like a fucking.
It was 2 guys.
What was it?
Wait,
Yusan. What's his name?
The bad
Yusan
guys
Bolt.
run out?
Yeah.
What's that?
So you throw a couple frag grenades into the cave, and then 2 guys come running out and fall down a mountainside.
Oh my God! It
we
was.
all tuned them up.
Yeah.
And I
His
was on
body
top of the
went
cage,
down.
so as they were coming out, I'm shooting at them basically upside down on motherfuckers. And
Yeah.
I think one of our other guys, one of the snipers, had gone up to a mountaintop in front of the cave. So when the guys actually started coming out, everyone unleashed on the dudes. But yeah, it was comical as they're dead. So it's just dead bodies going down this fucking mountainside. And we're like, oh, that's fucking funny. Until it was done, and we're like, ah, shit, we need to go.
We gotta
down
go
there.
look at the
We
body.
need to go fucking search him. So it's like, all right, who's gonna go down this motherfucker and search these guys?
Damn, these stories are fucking epic. All right, I do have a question. Wait, you got another one you want to share? I'm all ears.
Well,
No, just say it.
there's
No.
probably over 1,000 stories like that, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So this is a little bit more of a not a common one, but a serious one. I interviewed a guy a while ago named Chris Van Zant who was in Delta.
Chris!
Yeah, yes. Did you serve with him?
I did. I was in C Squadron with him for a while. Yeah, great dude.
Yeah, great dude. And I was talking to him about like, why do you read all these stories about like you got Green Berets who get in trouble, you got SEALs that get in trouble, but you don't ever read stories about Delta hitting the news. And he said, like, if you are a fucking idiot, you're just gone essentially. And so I'm curious, like, what's your opinion of like why you see all these other issues in other units, but you Delta, it's not really something that it seems to be an issue whatsoever.
I think it's, there's 2 components to it, right? Like when you get to that level, the selection process is a lot better and dudes do get booted real quick, right? Like I think 6 guys that I graduated our training course with went to D Squadron, and 2 years later, I think there was only 3 of us left, right? But the other part is like Green Berets and Navy SEALs are really big organizations, right? I mean, easily tens if hundreds, not hundreds of times bigger than the unit, right? So if you've got 100 operators deployed throughout the world, and you've got 3,000 or 4,000 special forces dudes deployed, you're going to have more trouble with those guys. There's just more.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But here, let me fill you in on a secret, though. We have our own issues, right? Like every single unit out there. All right. But what I do think,
don't let the booze talk, Gilly.
no. But hey, we got issues just like we got to fire dudes just like everybody else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Well,
But-
let me ask about if a guy comes in and he's made it through selection, and then it's OTC, right? Operators training course they go to, and then that's when you get through that. Now you're in. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well,
Yeah, but
you're
you're
in.
never in.
Yeah. Selection's ongoing.
So if a guy gets to the unit and 6 months in, he turns out to be a major problem, or he's just, it's not so much he doesn't mesh well, but he's a problem. Is it like a football team where it's just handled internally in the locker room, or is it more like get this guy the fuck out of here? We don't want to be around this guy.
Both.
So
It's
yeah,
both.
we had that on our team. We had an issue like that. And when I took over the team, I had to do a little bit of backtracking a little bit because some things weren't done, correctly, I guess, 100% the first time around. But I had to fire a guy. And that was because this kid had all the great operator skills, great individual operator skills. He was a good shooter. He could do CQB well, right? But he could not fucking mesh with the team. He just couldn't. And he was like a caustic disease on the team. And it just turned out where I just had to, I tried him out in a different position and it didn't work. And I had to bring him back and I had to get rid of him.
So when guys leave Delta, do they just go back to the unit they came from then?
Yeah, so a lot of, if he was SF, he could go back to SF, he could go back to Ranger Battalion, wherever. Yeah. I mean, they try to give him, they try to hook him up because they did do a service and they put all their effort into this. So they try to give them, their assignment they want, but they could go back
to answer your question on that. It is initially dealt with internally. And then if that doesn't work, then yes, you're like, get the fuck out. So I mean,
and I'll say that the unit has much more levity with that stuff than other places, right? Like, so I came from Ranger Battalion, right? And there's the code of conduct for the 75th Ranger Regiment. There's certain standards in there. If you break those, you'll be released from the 75th Ranger Regiment. Now, if the kid doesn't break those, but he's just an asshole or an idiot or whatever, you can't get rid of him. And I'm pretty sure it's the same way with special forces. There's been plenty of dudes that have left the unit because their personality just it wasn't a good fit in the locker room,
So what is the personality that fits well is because you three are obviously you're serious dudes, but you seem relatively laid back, good team players. Like, is that the only way you can make it in the unit? Or are there guys who are just like hardos and they're just constantly aggressive, or do you have to be kind of like the three of you?
I think it's probably a mix, I think a lot of us are similar, right? There's guys out there that are, the super fucking crazy gung-ho guys, then they can be successful, but they might not be successful leaders. They might be successful assaulters on a team, right? But as far as moving up to a leader, they might not be as successful. What do you guys think?
I think I think you have a mix of the gun ho, muscle bound, just freaking hard fucking dude. You also have the absolutely fucking smart ass motherfucker, like just smart dudes, right?
Yeah.
You got a combination of that, but ultimately the guys that all mesh together, even though you might have the guy who's not so smart, which would have been me, but just fucking, just I can just gut through anything. And then you got the real smart guys, but we all have common sense, right? We all have people skills. We can all figure it out to, like, if you're not meshing with the team, you're like, all right, something's not working. You figure out how you can be as a personality to make it work to be on a team. So I think the guys that actually end up staying there are dudes that have common sense and people skills. The guys that don't are the guys that get released are the ones that just don't fucking get it. They might be good operators, but they have no common sense. They're not someone that we would want to send individually to an embassy and have to deal with an ambassador.
Right. Yep.
They don't adapt well.
Yes. Yep.
Well, so that actually is a perfect segue to my next question. Is it, and this was a question I got from one of the readers, if you were talking to like some high school students and they're 18 years old, 17 years old, and they're like, I want to be in Delta Force, is it better for them to be highly intelligent or just very athletic?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's a good question. Yeah.
I was
Neither.
highly
I will-
athletic. And
Yeah. I can only tell you what I was. I was certainly not highly intellectual. I mean, I may have a good IQ, but like book smart, school for me, it just wasn't great. Was I athletic? Yeah, I was, but you still need those brains for this job, especially if you want to be a key leader. If you want to be a key leader in that organization, you have to be smart, and I'm not saying, friggin', whatever, friggin' geometry smart, but,
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, I don't think either of them are a determining factor. The two smartest guys and the two most physically fit guys in my OTC class both got dropped.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a mix. It's a mix.
It's about, right? Like, it's about being able to think quickly, react, and make decisions, right? And I don't think that's a matter of intellect or physical ability. Like, it's just something that some people have. I have a really, really good friend that I went to OTC with that was probably one of the best shooters I've ever been around. He was an awesome guy. He was great at everything, but he had a really, really difficult time in the shoot house. And he would compound, like, mentally, he would screw something up and then it would just get worse and worse throughout the day, right? Like, he couldn't adapt to the stress well. So that's why I think our process is the way it is because you can't just look at an attribute like intelligence or strength. Like, there's so much more to it.
What we used to say on our team is, and it's funny, I don't even remember where it came from, but I know Bob still carries this saying to what he does now, but we used to say you got to be an athlete, and we didn't mean it in the sense where, physically you need to be an athlete, but it was like you had to be an athlete in every aspect of the game. It's like
figure it out, right? And be a fucking
you had to figure it out, man. If you want to be a leader, you had to figure that shit out. You had to figure out how to be a good leader there. If you just had to step up, and that's what we mean. That's what we meant by, hey, you got to be an athlete, man, in more ways than one.
In everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, Gill is the same thing, right? He's a big Patriots fan. I think I love Tom Brady. He's my hero.
Yeah,
right?
well, I mean, they pretty much
a perfect example of it.
Yeah, they call me the Tom Brady of the unit. So I mean, that's no secret. I'm just saying.
Would Tom Brady get through selection?
Like,
you think?
What's that?
Do you think Tom Brady could get into the unit if he went through selection?
No, he'd fail.
I like that answer. That's a good blunt answer.
I mean, he's a great football player. I got nothing against him there.
It's crazy how much other things go into it. That's why I think everyone at the unit, well, not everyone, most people at the unit are. It's a phenomenal fucking individual. I mean, you're looking at all the physical aspects, all the mental aspects, and then like what Nate was saying, the decision making, like that's just to make it. But then to be a good gunfighter, you got to have that fucking, I don't care if I die. I don't care if I fucking get shot.
Yeah.
So even if guys can make it
Yeah.
with, you know, the physical part, the mental part, the decision making, if they don't have it in them, that mindset of the mental toughness to not fucking care if they get shot, they're not going to make it there. So you gotta have fucking it all, which is fucking great.
And it's not just the operators either, though. You know, it's like we had the best mechanics. Like we had the Tom Brady's of mechanics in our building. You know, we had the Tom Brady's of intelligence in our building. We had the Tom Brady's of every, you know, job out there that made the unit successful. You know, they recruit, you know, and there's like a selection program for almost all the jobs in the building, you know. So not only are you getting top-notch individuals to be the trigger pullers, but you're getting the top-notch individuals to be, you know, every other job in that building to make our job that much easier, right? So
Okay. I have a question. Playing off what you just said, I have a question. It wasn't even written down, but in a previous interview I did, also with a guy who was with Chris Van Zandt, Brad Thomas.
Brad, yeah.
He was saying how there's some people on social media who use ambiguity to try to convince people.
Yes.
Now he said this in the interview, and he didn't name names. He's like, I don't want to name. I'm not interested in getting that. But that they try to get the audience to be like, oh, I'll drop these little breadcrumbs, and then I just won't clear up confusion. When you see people on Instagram or Twitter, or whatever, who maybe exaggerate their military service, is it easy for you to identify? And then what do you think of those people?
Yeah, it's I don't mean to over talk, but yeah, it's easy to identify because we pretty much know them all. Does it bother me? Yeah, it bothers me, you know, but I get it. You know, guys are trying to make a living out there, right? And I'm all for it, you know. I don't like the ambiguity out there that, you know, you lead, you know, listeners or followers to think one thing, and, you know, that's not what you did, you know.
Right. I 100% agree. Like what?
Yeah.
What is wrong with saying I was there, but I was a support guy?
Yes, and
Yeah,
the guys
I mean,
that are proud say that. The guys that are fucking
Yeah.
proud and that are respected, they do say that.
Yeah.
And that's my point, right? Like our support guys were phenomenal at every
Yep.
level. And you got to understand that, right? Like if you're a mechanic in the Army, okay, you can be a mechanic in the 82nd and you can be responsible for knowing how to fix the headlights on a Humvee. It's the only thing you need to know. And you've only got 2 Humvees that you need to do it to, right? So you sit around and play cards most of the time. Or you can come to the unit and you're responsible to know how to fix every vehicle on God's green earth, and you're in charge of a fleet of 30 or 40 vehicles, right? And you're not making more, right? They are taking on much more responsibility because they want it, but because they want to work there, because they want to support the operator, because it's important to them. And that's the kind of quality you get in the support there. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Well, and that's why that goes into why these guys that are like kind of riding on the coattails and like they're not saying they weren't operators, but they're kind of making it sound like it, and then they're getting these big followers. There's nothing wrong with saying I was a fucking support guy. You know, I mean, like look at the direct support guys. They're doing everything that we're doing basically on target. I mean, they're coming on every target with us. But,
100%.
but they know that they can make money. They know they can get followers by just saying, you know, I was at the unit. And then most people just think if you're at the unit, you were an operator, which isn't true.
Right. Because if I was and I wasn't in the military at all, but I find all of this shit so cool. And even if I was just a support guy or a dude changing the headlights, like to me, that'd be the coolest fucking thing ever still. And like, I would just say that. And like, I could tell, and I've asked some other people, I can tell it hits a nerve with some people, and they're like, essentially, again, it's lying through omission. You're just not telling the full truth. But anyways, I just wanted to get
the reason I think why it pisses us off is like you're taking away from all the stuff that we've done and that we've completed, and we got selected. And now even though you had your own selection process, you had to be the best at what you were doing, but by letting other people think that you were an operator, it takes away from
It
what
ain't
we've
right.
actually done, right?
It ain't right. It just ain't right.
It's just not right. Yeah.
And I'll say that, the majority of people I've seen doing that were not people that were at the unit for very long.
Right.
Right?
100%. Yep.
So, that's one of the first things I look at when I try to figure out if somebody's full of shit, right? If they're like,
Yep.
I was in SEAL Team 6, I'm like, well, what years were you there? If they were there for 10 years, probably a good dude,
Yep.
right? They're like, I was in the unit in the 90s. How long? 96 to 98. Okay. Good to know.
Gotcha. Well, that's a good, that's another perfect segue. Now, Bob knows what's coming because I ask this in literally every military interview I do. SEAL Team 6 versus Delta Force, like the most popular debate in the history of the military.
Take it away, boys.
There's a debate about it.
Well, there is a huge debate. So now we've got Bob on the record on this from the previous interview. He gave a very diplomatic answer, but it was a good answer. You two, what are your thoughts on the differences and which one's better? Take it away.
Oh, you just had to do it, didn't you?
I think that's what I said too.
So here's the deal for me. Those guys are some of the greatest fucking dudes out there, right? I got a lot of fucking friends out there. We've worked with them a lot over the years, and I got nothing but respect for them cats, for sure, So
Who's better though, Gilly? Who's better?
well, I'm going to say I'm better, right? I'm going to say we're better, right? But I'm sure they'll say they're better, right? And that's what you should do, right? Because that's your organization. We all have our niches, we all have what we're good at. And, I can only hope that we complement each other out there. Yeah, I'm doing the politically correct answer here.
That's way more politically correct than I was.
Yeah, that was more politically correct.
I mean,
So
but
I'm not going to be.
it's true though. I mean, that's the bottom line. I hope we can complement each other out there. And if, they're not the force that should be picked to do it, then we should, right? So, I mean, that's just kind of what it boils down to.
All right, Nate, what's your thoughts?
So I'm going to repeat something that a friend of mine, Mike, told me or said to me a long time ago, right? I think the SEAL Team 6 guys are cut from the exact same piece of cloth as we are, right? If they would have joined the Army instead of the Navy, they would have been in Delta Force, right? But they came up in a different organization with different culture and different, right? I think those guys I've got some friends there. They're awesome dudes. I think those guys are great, really great at what they do. But Delta Force is definitely better, right? And the reason I know is because I don't know a single guy that has left the unit to go to SEAL Team 6, but I know of guys leaving SEAL Team 6 to come to the unit. So,
Truth.
Well, in my interview with Chris Van Zant, he said on one of their deployments that they had a SEAL Team 6 guy with them. And
Yeah, we had him attached to us.
Yeah, like how the meshing either did well or didn't use. So I thought that was interesting. I got to ask, I've got the opportunity to do some SEAL Team 6 interviews and meet some of those guys and hang out with some of those guys. And yeah, no, I like them a lot too. I have all the respect in the world for them. I do like to stir the pot though, because the internet definitely enjoys getting the debate going.
Of course.
All right, I got some current event questions here, which I also like to work into all of the interviews. So I don't know if you guys watch the news a bunch. Obviously, I work for a news agency, so I see it. Drug cartels are big back in the news now. And I know that there's been a lot of public reporting all the way back to Escobar with Tier 1 U.S. units getting involved with that. Do you think the U.S. has the capabilities, if we said, fuck it, let's just decapitate all these cartels immediately? Could the U.S. military just go in and wipe these people out?
why would you? You could just build a wall and have good border security.
There you go.
What did you say?
That is the least efficient way to tackle the fentanyl problem. The easiest way is to build a wall, beef up border security. I don't know, throw the National Guard down there and stop it from coming over.
There you go. That's a very
But Dave, to answer your question, yes.
It'd be done in a week.
We could fucking annihilate them if they use the proper forces to go do it. Yep, absolutely. Now, would it go away? I'm not saying it would go away. Would we put a fucking huge impact in it? Absolutely. Yep.
That's kind of what I figured. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you give us the green light to go. Just our intel guys doing what we did overseas, and you know, you take the leash off. I mean, it'd probably be a week or 2 weeks. I mean, they got their they got their intel guys too, but who have they been dealing with the last fucking 40, 50 years, 60 years? Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
the Mexican cops.
They see the men with green eyes land, they're gonna shit themselves, just
So-
like anybody else.
So I agree that we could take them out. I don't think it'd be 1 or 2 weeks because they got this thing called the jungle. And that shit's difficult. But I actually, like, as a thought experiment, I mean, I never really thought about it, but I feel like that might actually be a more difficult fight than Iraq and Afghanistan. Not in the overall, like, us being able to defeat them, but just like on the individual engagement level, because they will be better trained, better equipped, right? They will have intelligence services. They will be probably more organized. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't
We have
think,
one
I don't
money
think they'd
house.
be more organized. They run off the base of fear. I mean, most of them are fucking idiots. I mean, when it comes down to actually fighting for real, they know shit.
Yeah, but same thing for Al Qaeda. So.
Right.
Well, I don't know if any of you've seen the movie Sicario, but Sicario, as far as I know, is the only movie, and if any of you know, correct me if I'm wrong, the only movie that involved drug cartels, and then they had Delta Force in that film too, smoking some of those guys throughout. Great movie if you've never seen it.
But they had the FBI liaison, so it was all legit.
Yeah, is that a real thing or is that bullshit? Is that Hollywood fiction?
No, there's got to be some more paperwork than just that for a military unit to be doing any sort of that shit.
Well, let me ask this. What's the most realistic war movie you've ever seen?
Realistic.
Black Hawk Down.
But that's what everyone says. So that's what everyone says.
Yeah, I mean,
And I wouldn't say that's 100% accurate, but as far as
I can only tell you if I lived through it.
Yeah.
kind of capturing, I think we all know a few people that have, and they've said it's close, right? But
Hollywood's Hollywood. They make all
Yeah.
the movies a little bit more than they really are, you know.
Right. Well, speaking of Brad Thomas, when I did my interview with him, he said in the movie Black Hawk Down, where they're like, we're going to a real dangerous part of the city. He was like, that never happened. The whole city was fucking dangerous. It would make no sense to be like, we're going to go drive and do. It's like, why would anyone have verbally said that? It's the most obvious thing in the world. But we all know Bob's favorite movie is Red Dawn, which is the greatest movie ever made. Obviously.
It is.
I thought you were going to say Hurt Locker.
Are you not a fan of the Hurt Locker?
Oh my God, that thing, it's unwatchable. Like,
Really?
I don't know what
Guy
to
was
tell you.
running around Baghdad by himself.
Yeah, an EOD guy running around Baghdad by himself. Like, yeah.
Well, the woman who made that was the same woman that made Zero Dark 30. What do you guys think about that movie?
Never seen it.
No, never seen it.
No, never seen it.
All right, there you go. Bob, an opinion?
On what, the two movies?
Yeah.
I have seen. I did watch that one. When it comes on the intel side, that might have been legit. When it comes, my hard thing watching movies, especially like movies make it, books make it because it's a high profile target, right? Like that's the only reason why people are interested. But when it comes to like the hit itself on these high profile targets, these are hits that we're doing every fucking night.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so it kind of pisses me off when
We've had worse hits
that are made and the only books that are made are on one fucking target. It was just because of one high profile person. But when it comes to the hit, people are like, oh, like that was a fucking unbelievable hit. Like what those guys did. We're literally doing that fucking every night.
Yeah, what about a foreign fighter safe house where there's 20 barricaded dudes and you're in a fucking gunfight for 6 hours, right? We don't make
one. That actually was kind of hairy too.
Yeah, and we only make gunfights on freaking UBL or fucking, AMZ when it took 10 minutes to go in and kill them or whatever,
Wait, so you came up on a safe house with 20 foreign fighters and it was a 6-hour gun battle?
Oh yeah, I mean I've come up on that more than a few times in my career for sure. The first one was in Baghdad, and I had my Oakley glasses shot off of my face. I had a buddy shot. There was one room that had all 4 walls had machine guns and like all brand new weapons all stacked up on all 4 walls, So yeah, I mean, it's we've all had hits like that on more than one night, and those are the ones you probably want to make a damn movie about because you probably don't have to make too much bullshit up,
Yeah. Or 24 hours of straight hits looking for Jill Carroll. Baghdad hitting in Ramadi.
I mean, there's hits that were on fire at 12, 18 hours sometimes where there's
Jill never said thank you to me, by the way.
Wait, who were you looking for 24 hours?
Oh, it was at least
we were looking for months, but we went. I was in Ranger Battalion. He was in the unit at the time, and we were working together. We were looking for this chick, Jill Carroll. She was a Christian Science monitor, journalist or something like that in Baghdad. She got kidnapped. We started in Baghdad, hit a place. They're like, no, it's this place. And then we went hit a mosque, and they're like, the mosque is like, no, it's this place. And I want to say we probably hit like 10, at least 10 houses.
Yeah,
we started in Baghdad, ended up in doing hits all the way out west till we got to Ramadi. And it was like the next night, and we were out of gas, water, everything. And we just
we either captured or killed everybody involved in that kidnapping until the one guy that had her dropped her off at a government building early in the morning and said, bitch, keep walking. I don't even want you near me no more.
I've never even heard of that story. That's fucking crazy. So she was just some American that got into Iraq and got kidnapped?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's what most of the hostage scenarios were back in the day. Either reporters like Nick Berg, I don't want to get into what happened to him, but, obviously not good. It was, they were over there doing their calling, right? Whether they were a Christian, whatever, or they were, a news person, but met that fate and got wrapped up by the bad guys. And, then we get called.
I would say, because that's your bread and butter, right? Hostage rescue. That's what you guys do better than anyone else on the planet. So they'll send you, I mean, if an American gets kidnapped anywhere, let's say Africa, South America, they'll send you anywhere to go get them, correct? Or am I wrong in that?
Yes, it'll be either us or SEAL Team 6. Yep.
Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. That should comfort our readers. I hope our readers don't do anything stupid and just saunter off to a very dangerous country. But
no, just make sure you contact me, Bob, and Nate. You don't want anybody active duty because we're the real badasses. But
there you go. When Bob and I talked in February, it was like 3 or 4 days before the war in Ukraine kicked off. And I know that we were speculating, like, are they going to invade? Are they not going to invade? Obviously, they did invade. But I'm curious to get your 3 opinions, because the experts on TV and all the retired generals, some of them are like, this will be over in 72 hours. Kyiv is going to fall. The government will be toppled by the weekend. It started on a Wednesday, and that never happened. So Russia obviously controls a lot of territory now, but they didn't take the whole country like everyone thought they were going to do, and they've struggled with supply lines and stuff. So I'm curious from your point of view, what you make of Russia not essentially doing as well as everyone hyped them up to do.
So, let's say, when you look at Russia and their defense spending over the last 20 years or so, there's been a really strong emphasis on special operations right? And, clandestine stuff, you look at like the Wagner group in Syria and stuff. That's where they've put a lot of their emphasis, right? So the whole thing with Ukraine is that's a conventional war, right? Like they can't win that without taking and holding land. And so their military spending and their military focus is kind of misaligned to this war, right? So I think they learned a lot of hard lessons early on. They've reconsolidated, they've moved some things around, but I think it's going to be a very tough fight for them to seize control. I mean, I think that they'll probably retain control of the Donbass. I don't see Ukraine getting them out of there, but for the most part, I think anybody that was on there telling you that it was going to be over in a couple of days are probably the same kind of people that said the sanctions would stop him from invading after he already did it.
Right. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm on board with Nate on that one. Who knows how long it'll actually last, or who's gonna outlast who, but it's definitely not going the way that they thought it was gonna go.
Yeah.
But I am one of those guys that in the last like year and a half have stopped watching the fucking media.
That's smart.
Because I just get fucking pissed off. So I haven't been keeping up on what's going on over there, because I call me a fucking asshole. I don't fucking care.
That's reasonable. What do you think, Brian?
Well, what I think right off the bat is I don't think Russia's as badass as they think they are, right? It's I don't agree with the war. I think I don't know. I kind of wish I was over there, to be honest.
That's what Bob said when I interviewed him. He said that if it'd been 20 years earlier, he'd be all for it.
Yeah, I actually, there was a period of time where I actually did think about, heading over there. But
That's just to get it fucking on again, though.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it has usually it's not about the cause. It's for us. Right. It's about the action.
Yeah, and my thing is, like, Ukraine's got their own issues, right? Ukraine doesn't, their noses aren't clean. They've never been clean. Are they cleaner than Russia? Yeah, probably. But yeah, I don't like the war. I don't like how all these kids and women are displaced, and I just don't like it. I don't think it needs to be going on right now.
If Delta Force, sorry, go ahead.
I think when first of all, right, there's a war in Ukraine right now as a result of bad policy in Europe and the U.S. for a long time, right? So the fact that we've been flirting with bringing Ukraine into NATO is, a bad idea. It's always been a bad idea, right? And then the narrative that somehow the West is protecting democracy by defending Ukraine is just another, bold-faced lie. Ukraine isn't a democracy. It's a puppet democracy, right? When you outlaw the opposition party, you can't call yourself a democracy, right? So we shouldn't be there, right? Because we should have had strong leadership that prevented it. But now that they have invaded Ukraine, what should be our goals, right? And the only goal that makes any sense, right, is preventing China from invading Taiwan, right? Like that's the only thing that really matters here. You want to talk about protecting Europe from Russia and stuff like that? I don't think Putin's going to march into Europe. But if he does, that's Europe's problem. They should have been paying their fair share in the NATO for decades now, right? But there's a much simpler way to solve the China-Taiwan problem than simply shoveling money into Ukraine. I still, for the life of me, haven't figured out why we haven't parked a carrier group in between China and Taiwan, right? That should have been the first thing that happened. We have the greatest deterrent to Chinese aggression in the world, and that's our Navy.
All I know is if diesel doesn't go down soon, I'm going to get pissed and I'm going to grab my shit and I'm going to go overseas and I'm going to have to fucking do something about it because I can't deal with this shit.
Well, here, this question's tailored off of Bob's love of Red Dawn. What advice do you have for people if enemy paratroopers are falling from the sky? What should people do?
Yeah, well, shoot straight, first of all, right? Make sure you got your reserve of ammo, right? Your bunker or your good crew of friends that you're going to go hide up in the mountains with, right? Because that's all you need is a few good friends to make a difference. That's it. That's all I got.
What's your advice?
Is that for Nate?
No, that's for you. What's your advice if
Red Dawn when it happens?
Oh, fuck it. Yeah, bring it. I mean, that would be like my dream come true finally.
I know,
right? And now I have training.
Yeah.
I might be old, but fucking goddamn, bring it. That shit would. I mean, good luck coming fucking here.
Yeah, with all the guns America has.
Good. I mean, it would be a joke. Look at how long they've been in Ukraine. It was supposed to be like 2 or 3 days, right? I mean, fucking good luck. It doesn't matter who comes here.
Yep.
We still have enough good Americans with weapons. That shit wouldn't last a fucking day.
No,
that's another great quote. Nate, what would you be doing if you saw paratroopers falling from the sky?
I'd go grab my 6.5 bolt gun and start shooting them out of the sky personally. But I think Red Dawn, like the original Red Dawn, is actually a good plan of action, right? Like they did a lot of the right things. The only thing I'd add to it is get away from any sort of critical infrastructure or cities, because nothing's going to save you from bombs.
Right. I said this in my interview with Bob. When I was like 7, 8 years old, my dad got me a Ruger 1022, and we lived out in the country. And I watched Red Dawn when I was about 6 or 7 for the first time. And I would pretend tin cans, jugs of water. And we lived, where there was a wooded area. And I would run around with the 1022 with that little 10-round magazine. And I would pretend to be in Red Dawn shooting communist invaders. Like
hell yeah.
Now this is a question I'm very interested to get your opinions on. I live in DC. We've had a lot of social unrest here over the past 2 years. In 2020, we had really bad violent riots.
You live where?
I live in Washington, DC.
Oh, oof.
Yeah, it's not fun. My girlfriend was in Kenosha, about 15 yards from the shooting. My coworker was right behind the guy who got shot in the head. So a lot of civil unrest in America. What is your advice to people when it comes to identifying when a situation might be about to go south?
Well, I mean, bottom line is you need to be aware of your surroundings, right? You need to be aware of where you are to begin with, right? What's the reason you're there, right? Is there a good enough reason that something can go down? And if so, you need to be ready for that, right? I mean, these people that go to these protests, I mean, they know what's coming. They're just not prepared for what happens, and you have to be prepared for that if that's where you want to put yourself, right? In my mind, I just feel people in this freaking country need to fucking relax, man. I mean, everything is fucking politics around here. It is so disgusting. And, everybody's feelings are hurt over everything, and it makes a world where you can't fucking live anymore, right? So there's just going to be more and more problems if people just can't fucking relax. Jesus.
Well,
if people have big issues, go enlist. Maybe we need to have a 2-year mandatory fucking enlistment like Israel and fucking other places, Go do your time. Maybe you get it out of your system and then you can live a normal fucking life.
I think I agree with you on that, but I think the majority of people aren't like that. It's the fucking media. I mean, the media puts it out there that this is going on, and this is most of these protests that they're showing, it's like 20, 30 people, but they make it look like it's fucking hundreds, right? And they make it seem like it's hundreds So everyone thinks like the fucking world's ending when you talk to like the normal fucking left side, right side person, you know, like next door neighbor, they're not thinking that, you know. And that's why I stopped watching the fucking goddamn news. Because they are fucking running our country, you know. So it's whatever media source you're fucking watching is what people are believing. It's not that bad. I mean, I agree. Everyone needs to settle down, 100%. You know, but it's not as bad as what the media is portraying it to be.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's not as bad where you are, Bob. Right. So here's the thing,
because
right?
where are you, Nate?
I lived in Portland, downtown Portland, from August 2020 to August 2021.
True.
Right.
True.
And I saw people anyways, it was bad, right? I do completely agree.
When you're looking at all of America, that's still, even though that's one huge city, that's a fucking niche, you know, of like all of America. And that's because they're all flocking there because they think that's the fucking mecca to do this shit.
The media, like, I go on for hours, right? Like, these are the same people that say that Elon Musk removing censorship from Twitter is a threat to free speech, right? Like, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, right?
Yeah, it's comical, right?
But as far as like protecting yourself and all that stuff, you know, when there was stuff going on around my apartment and stuff like that, we'd stay inside, you know. If I went outside, if I had to go get something, if I had to go to the store, you know, I would carry. I wasn't open carrying. I wasn't trying to start anything, right? Like I had something in case.
Yeah, but how bad did you want to crack some skulls though?
Oh, really bad, really bad. That's why I stayed in my house, because if I went outside, it probably would have got ugly. And I would have ended up in a courtroom with Kyle. But I will say that, you know, if people are worried about safety, they're concerned about, you know, safety of their family, carrying an AR-15 to a riot might not be the best idea. I've been trying ever since this shit started to find a Remington VTAC-13, which is this little automatic 12 gauge. It's like this long. Put beanbags in that. Carry a shotgun with beanbag rounds, right? Those beanbag rounds will put you down, and you're not going to end up in jail.
So our reporters, again, the same two reporters that we had in Kenosha, they were in Portland a bunch covering that little what was it, the federal courthouse that they were trying to like seize or whatever. And what's crazy about that is, so before the Rittenhouse shooting in Kenosha, my girlfriend and Richie, they've been to riots all over the place. They were riot reporters. That's what they did. They followed it. And I said, look, you guys got to understand, this is Wisconsin. People are well armed in Wisconsin. It's a state with good gun laws for pro Second Amendment people. It's where I'm from. Yeah. And I said, this ain't going to be a bunch of hippies singing Kumbaya, talking about, they are not going to tolerate their fucking shit getting burned down. The very first night they're there, that dude drops 3 people. I said, I told you, these are not fucking hippies. They're not. But anyways, that's a little bit off subject. But
and the thing is that the place has allowed it to happen, right?
Right, absolutely.
They tried to burn down the federal courthouse for a year and a half because the, you know, jackass of a mayor in Portland allowed them to. It could have been stopped anytime, right? Yep. It wouldn't have taken much to clear it out.
People are afraid to do that.
Well, I have a bunch of family members who are cops too, and they'll tell you firsthand that when shit got real bad in 2020, they were literally ordered, don't get involved.
Like, that's a thankless job, man. That is a thankless fucking job, being a cop nowadays. I feel for them dudes. Yep. Those women guys.
Oh, I feel for him too. All right, last question. This one was from a fan. He tweeted it to us. He seems to think that Delta and the CIA are essentially one and the same. Now, I don't think that's true, but I'm going to let you guys handle that question.
No, Delta is effective and useful. It definitely can't be the CIA.
Yeah. Now, hey, there's, I don't want to get into what all the agencies got, but there are groups within the agency that do have some pipe hitters in there, but they're all former us guys, or SEALs or whatever, no.
And
by
those
far-
guys are doing basically the same fucking mission we did. So it's
Well, they're doing like the SF mission, but yeah, I mean, but no, definitely two completely different entities. Don't even train together. Don't even, so no, we're way better.
Right? So Delta is a direct action military organization, right? Like it's a military unit. The CIA is an intelligence agency, right? It was never meant to do direct action with the exception of, covert operations, right? So it's not built the same. It's not structured the same. Obviously they've got, people doing some things, but the interaction between intelligence agencies and military is limited to those functions, right? Like intelligence agencies collect intelligence, military does something with it.
And for the record, I knew that you guys weren't the same thing, but that was a question that came in a bunch. I would be the biggest dumbass in the world after all these interviews to not understand that basic. But real quick, because it plays off, I know I said that was the last one, but what you had just said was interesting to me. Is there a big disconnect, do you think, between the guys wearing suits, working in DC, working at the Pentagon, and then the dudes on the actual ground doing the shooting? Like, how big of a difference is there between those two groups of people in terms of their relationship with each other?
I think it's fucking huge. I mean, when you get to that level, especially, well, depending on what level you're talking to on that, 100% fucking it goes political again. Like where we're at, our intel guys are in-house, right? I mean, they're for our mission. When it gets to DC level or CIA level, they're reporting to a certain person, right? So it becomes political again. Where we're at, when we're doing missions, especially overseas, it's not political. High profile targets, it gets to that point, but I think it's a big difference.
And we always look at things from a tactical sense, right? They look at things from an intelligence sense, right?
Oh yeah, you can fucking do this.
We had a lot of targets that got passed from them, and they wanted us to go hit them, right? So the first questions we would ask was, what kind of target development's been done on this, and 90% of the time they'd be like, well, we got like a P grid, or something very minuscule, and we would be like, okay, well, let's develop this target. Like, we had more tactical sense, to develop a target before we go hit it. And sometimes we were forced to go hit their targets, and a lot of times those didn't pan out because they don't target like we do. But I do think there was a big disconnect back in the day, the early days. I do think that gap got narrowed down over the years. I think the interagency work got better. Now, where is it now? I don't know. I do know we still ran into our issues, even in the later years, with intelligence with them. But I think it did get better for a period of time. I don't know where it is now, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff's personality based too, right? Like, so we've got our guy talking to their guy in country X, and those guys don't get along. They're not, things aren't going to get along. If those guys are tight, then things are tight. I would say that they're an intelligence agency, right? So a lot of times, we would want to go smash something and they would want to watch it, right? Which is understandable, right? Like, we want to go kill the dude and take all of his stuff and, look through it that way. They want to watch the dude and follow him and see who else he touches, right? That's a very oversimplified analysis. I mean, we obviously tried to watch and develop things too, but, I will say that the just general bureaucracy, right? Like, the bigger any organization gets, the more disconnected the people at the, at the far ends are, right? So there's, maybe 75 people in my company. The CEO knows everybody's name. He probably knows everybody's wife's name, right? I guarantee you, Bill Gates doesn't even know all of the wives, all the names of his mid-level executives, and so I think that's just what it is, right? Like the government defense industry is a huge industry. So you got these people in Washington, they're hugely disconnected from what's going on the ground in Syria, right?
Were you ever in Syria?
Yeah, I think we all were.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I didn't know. I see Bob smiling now.
Hell yeah, we were.
Well, is there anything you guys want to say before we wrap this up? This has been excellent. This has been amazing.
Appreciate you for having us.
Hey, you three are welcome anytime you want. Hey, Bob, we're shooting for 190,000 YouTube views. That's what you need to break the first one.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'll let
So
you know.
if I can real quick, just plug my company.
Go ahead.
So we are a full service aviation company. We have manned aviation. We have a Part 135 maintenance station and UAS services. Precision, name of the company is Precision. We do a lot of work with Department of Interior on wildfires, as well as obviously some DoD contracts. You can find us at flyprecision.com, and you can find me at Nathan J. Dudley on LinkedIn, Instagram, what have you.
Thanks,
Bob,
Nate.
you want to plug your shooting course as well?
No, but we did the last one. Hopefully everyone will. If there's new guys, they can find me. I'm Bob Keller, right?
There you go.
I'm gonna go
Hey,
ahead and
I just like being on the line with the guys again.
I'm gonna plug my company. I'm gonna plug my
Yeah, go
company.
ahead.
Bob. Give
Go
me a
ahead.
fucking minute,
Yeah.
all right? Oh, no, I don't have a company. I'm good.
I mean, shit, Dave. I'm telling you. I mean, if we want to do this again in 6 months or a year, I mean, fuck, we probably didn't. Well, I mean, we didn't even cover half the fucking hits. But
we didn't cover day 2 of hits.
Gilly and Nate and I talked a couple days ago, and we were talking about some of the hits. Fuck, we didn't even cover half of them.
I
So I
know.
mean, there's like if this is a big one and people are like, oh fuck, I want to hear more hits, we got more.
Oh, dude. Well, if 6 months, we can circle back in 6 months and do it again in 6 months. I'd love that.
Hey,
Well,
I know the viewers like to listen to hits and shit, but I mean, there's serious ones, there's funny ones. So I think,
No,
I
people
think
are gonna love it.
the way that you plugged it was perfect.
All right. All right. Well, I'll let you all go. Thanks for joining us to the Daily Call for the David Hookstead Show. Bob, you're only the second person who's ever been invited back twice. So
Damn. Damn.
all right.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll cut you all loose. Have a good one,
Thanks.
everyone.
See ya.
Appreciate it.